Hello, so this video is going to help you out with a Delta Math assignment that's called Find Vertical Asymptotes Algebraically. Now, this is a review of what we learned last week. We still haven't finished those graphs, but we'll get to it soon. I just want you to practice how to find each part. So we're going to start with the Delta Math assignment. So it should look something maybe like this. Okay, I know it looks a little scary, but you guys know how to do it. So here we have steps 1 and step 2. Okay, so first step is to simplify the function. Okay, so we look at this function here and we can't really simplify it, so we're going to leave it how it is. Okay, so we have that function, so simplified. Okay, check. 2. Now we have to find the vertical asymptotes in the simplified function by setting the denominator equal to 0. Okay, so here we have this is our denominator. What our denominator looks like, and we're going to set it equal to 0. Okay, get rid of the square root by squaring both sides, or you could just think, oh, square root of a 0 equals 0, so anything inside can just be set equal to 0. Okay, either way, however you feel comfortable. Okay, now we have a quadratic. Oh, I know how to factor a quadratic x game. Our constant goes on top, our linear coefficient goes on the bottom, and we think about two factors that when you multiply them together will give me -5, and when you add them will give me -4. Well, 5 and 1, right? But one of them has to be negative. Okay, so then we write it over here in factored form. Okay, and by the 0 property of multiplication, we can also set both of these equal to 0. Okay, and then we solve for x. Okay, so x equals -1. Okay, so those are our vertical asymptotes. Okay, so here you're going to see a drop down on your Delta Math assignment. So you're going to drop it down to where it says 2 vertical asymptotes. Okay, and once you pick 2, it's going to give you 2 boxes like this, and it's going to say, well, what are they? Well, x equals 5 is one, and x equals 1 is the other, or x equals -1 is the other. Okay, so that's it. We're just finding the vertical asymptotes. Okay, so let's get another example here. Okay, so step 1, we're going to simplify the function, and then we're going to find the vertical asymptotes by setting the denominator equal to 0 on the simplified function. Okay, so I'm just going to go here. This is step 1, which is simplifying. Well, here I'm going to factor out the GCF, the greatest common factor, which is 2 and x. So then here, if I factor out a 2, I'm left with a 1, which I'm just not going to write. And then I have x squared, and I factor out an x, I just have 1x left over. Okay, then I go here to this part, minus, and I factor out a 2x. 8 divided by 2 is 4. I have 1x, I factor out an x, I'm just left with no x's in there. Okay, so we factored the numerator, so now we got to factor the denominator. GCF, well, I could take out a 5. Okay, so that means I'm left with x minus 4. Okay, cool. Okay, so then I cancel out any common factors. These two are common factors. That means that there's going to be it's going to create a hole there. Okay, we'll get to that later. Okay, so our simplified version is 2x over 5. So then part 2 says, well, set the denominator equal to 0. What's my denominator? It's 5. Set it equal to 0. Is this true? No. So that means here, when you have the drop-down menu, you're going to pick no vertical asymptotes. Yay, almost done. Okay, you guys are going to have 5 examples to complete. Okay, I'm just going over 3 kind of different variations that you might find on the Delta Math. Okay, so let's do the first step, which is to simplify. Well, 5x can't really factor anything out of there. Here, what is the greatest common factor between these two guys? Well, I can factor out that -2. So it's kind of like I'm dividing by -2, right, on each part. So -2 divided by -2, I'm just left with x. -4 divided by -2 is going to give me +2. All right, there you go. There's our simplified version. Okay, so then we have to set our denominator equal to 0. Okay, so by the 0 property, that's not true, so we only have this guy right here to deal with. So that means on the drop down menu for this problem, I would look for one vertical asymptote, and then it's going to give you a box because it's going to say, well, if you have one, what is it? And you put in x equals -2. And it's going to be like, yay, and then finished another one. Okay, so that is how you find vertical asymptotes algebraically. Bye.